The RPM Podcast.
Oh, I'm a freelance audio documentarian.
Awesome, like podcasts and stuff?
Oh, please. Podcasts are verbal narcissism for ugly journalists.
The wave around rule in IndyCar is as unfair of an item that I've ever seen in racing. The IndyCar way of doing it just erased the hard work that Newgarden and Pagano did by trying to get the field further behind them in that first opening run of the race. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. That's their disadvantage. They should pit and stay a lap down and then have to find another way to get back on the lead lap.
You might be one of the only people that don't like this stuff.
I tell stories through sound.
His wife makes the money, I figured.
This is my anchor scene.
I have an anchor scene too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No kidding. We gotta get them together.
We should. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RPM Podcast. We're catching up a little bit because we didn't get to put a show together last week. That's my fault because I got called to work.
Totally.
But we're here, and this is the first time that we're here after the fundraiser that we had at the Chapter House Bar and Grill for my buddy Josh Matthews, who joined us
Thank you
today.
to everyone. I still have to finish getting thank yous out.
So, also here today, we got Sam Ballard Jr. and Nick Rendo's back after
A little hiatus.
Yeah, just a brief hiatus.
I was in mourning.
So,
I
from what?
I just couldn't talk about Silverstone.
It was that bad, huh?
Yeah, just blistering.
Before we get into some of the big racing topics of the weekend, one of the things that I want to do is kind of button up the event at the Chapter House. First of all, huge thank you to everyone there, the wait staff, the bartenders, everyone in between, and also the Lane families, specifically Melanie Lane for everything she did, all the prizes she was able to garner together, and all this other crazy things that we had done.
I don't know how she did that.
All the drivers who came out with their race cars, including some which won the night before, others which are still piecing their cars back together from misfortunes they had this season. They still wanted to be there. Joey Bailey came out. Chris Garbuck was there. Kyle Sisko had the win. He had his car there. The Barney family was there. They were still working on some stuff with the cars, so they didn't have the car there. But we had so much going on. It was great. Fireball was flying around like crazy, and that was awesome. So it was a really, really good time for a really, really good cause.
See what we missed out on, Nick?
And last that I heard was we raised in excess of $4,000 at that particular fundraiser between all the donations, T-shirts, and that doesn't include things that were gifted back to Josh that were won during the auction that we had and all this other stuff.
Eric Brenning's dad.
So, well, that's not a big deal.
It is.
So
It's huge.
again, thank you, and thank you to everybody at the racing community for making that such a success. And we know that if anybody ever needs a helping hand, that you can count on virtually anybody within our own little motorsports community.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to talk about racing now. And it's not typical at this time of the year when we get to this point in the season that we really care about the Brickyard 400. I mean, I don't recall ever caring.
That's because
about
they don't have any
Brickyard.
balloons.
Well, yeah. Well, did they? Well, now I missed the pre-race ceremonies. Does anybody know if they did release balloons?
I don't
Because
really care.
I hope not.
I think they did last year, and I was upset because I thought that was an Indy 500 only thing. In
And
fact,
it-
if we
it
go
should
through
be.
the archives,
So
I'm
you
pretty
got
sure I
more
complained about
upset
that.
because they had more balloons.
I would rather have 400,000. I would rather have 400,000 people be able to enjoy the releasing of the balloons as opposed to 40,000 people.
You mean
which is-
40 people?
Which is the rough,
That was-
the rough
that was
number is
closer.
40,000, but it's probably somewhere in between. So the crowd at the Brickyard 400 has been abysmal, and a lot of that has to do with perhaps that a lot of people point back to the tire debacle in 2008, and that it began to decline from there. Just that the racing product has been awful.
Well, you look at last year, and that was a huge complaint. There were articles specifically calling out what a boring, hot, just terrible race it was, and the view lines are not that good.
And
I have a joke,
Did
but we're
Sam
on
get
air, and I have to behave.
I thought Sam got excited because I said the view, and he was thinking of the
No,
show. Okay.
I had an Eric Brennan joke, and I'm going to keep
Actually,
it to
there's this
myself.
one girl on the View. She's like mad cool.
He knows where I'm going with it, though.
I
Conservative.
have a
No.
feeling.
Yeah, she
Just
sits.
no.
She sits all the way to the right. She's conservative. I really like her.
Isn't that the girl from Full House? Why are we
She
talking about
was.
the
We're
talking
view,
about The
But
View.
she's
on the
not on The
freaking
View anymore.
RPM podcast?
All right, so they never went through with the night race or anything, which is weird because
Right, they came up with a couple of ideas they want to try to get in motion. Now, granted, the
Do they
Brickyard will
think
have a date
adding
change,
lights
but
and having it at night is going to change the
Well,
fact that the race
it
sucks?
changes
It wouldn't make the race-
look of the race, and I
The
don't
track
know.
looks darker. They're going to produce a better product.
Well, all right, I'll say it would be cooler and more comfortable for the fans. So, I mean, that's one.
Why don't they race on the
positive
road
step,
course?
but-
Part of the road course.
That was another discussion, and we thought that the first Roval that we would see, or well, when I want to say Roval, I mean like in terms of like an actual oval or converted into a road course.
Square.
We thought it was going to be Indy, and it turned out to be Charlotte for next year. So they were flirting with a couple other things. Then they introduced this new aero package, the Xfinity Series, which we're going to talk about. But that seems to be the direction in which they're going to be heading to try to make the race.
Yeah, they're going to have to
because it's not the track that's the problem; it's our cars.
So,
But they're racing in Indianapolis for the last since '94 was the first one or something like that. 95,
Yes.
Yeah, but
94.
the aero packages have changed, and that's part of why the racing has gotten worse and worse and worse.
Or
I mean,
you just put Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch in the front of the race, and they'll just take out each other. And then the race.
or put Jimmy Johnson up front.
well,
and
that was going to be my next point, Sam. Is I think if it wasn't for at the beginning of stage 3, where it was just the Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. show in that order for the first 2 stages of the event.
My suicide pick.
If those two, I know, right?
My Chester Bennington pick.
If oh my goodness, hashtag too soon, son, too soon. If it
I had
wasn't
to.
for that incident, if it wasn't for the two of them getting together on a restart, then Nick is
I
mortified.
just got that. Oh my god.
If it wasn't for those two getting together, I think the race would have been a snooze fest, and that kind of triggered the madness that was the 2017 Brickyard 400. I mean, you had the two dominant cars take each other out. Kyle was awkwardly subdued about it when asked how it happened. His crew chief wasn't, because a video came out yesterday that he actually went over to the 78 pit and caused a little bit of a ruckus. That was kind of
But it was a
entertaining.
racing deal.
But
Kyle Busch drove him
Everything's
hard.
great.
Yeah.
That-
Truex drove him even harder, and it just ended up.
And from
In
that
the
point
wall.
forward, things just kind of got a little
Sportsmanlike.
wild. And
sportsmanlike, yes.
it continued on with the hard wreck with Clint Boyer and Kurt Busch, which Nick, you actually
Incredible,
pointed out something.
scary helmet cam.
Yeah,
So
it's-
scary. Happened so quick.
It was. I love that angle, and I love the footage that it got. But at the same time, it was.
I
terrifying
love
to
that
watch.
Kurt Busch had it because when Kyle and Martin Truex took each other out, you saw Kurt Busch drive past them, and on the backstretch, you saw him clapping because they took each other out, and that
No,
made my
I
day.
thought- I
I didn't
thought-
care who won the race. I was like,
I
Kurt
thought-
Busch, you're the man.
I'm sorry. I thought that was in response to contact between him and was it the Wood Brothers car?
No, I thought it was. I thought it was
Maybe
the,
I misunderstood.
the
I
two
have
of
to
them
find a
wrecking,
replay.
and Kurt Busch was like, "Heck yeah! Now someone else has to win the race. No, it's great."
Because I don't think anybody was going to beat one of those
No.
two cars.
No.
If something
Probably
happened to
not.
the 18, 78 would have won, and I don't think no matter what 78 would have did, the 18 had the field covered for sure. And that's why he knew he had to try to get by him on that restart because he may not have got another chance. But we had the hard wreck with Boy. A lot of hard hits this weekend.
Boyer, it was hard.
Yeah, then
Hard
you had,
wreck.
Well, it was hard enough, and then it got
Catch.
worse.
Then Kyle Larson gets hooked on the front
Sounds like a
straightaway.
date with me.
Which I think me and Sam were talking about this on the way down. We think it was self-inflicted by Kyle Larson because when he had the whole thing with Jimmy Johnson down the backstretch,
Yeah.
where Jimmy blocked him extremely aggressively and he gave him a couple shots to the rear.
Yep.
He had to go to the pits and everything to fix the splitter, and then when he came out in the back, he would have never been in the back where that accident happened
That's
on the
right.
front
I
stretch
never
because
thought
he
of
was
that.
on his move to the front. So me and Sam were just saying that even though it wasn't his fault, I mean, he put himself in that situation.
He put
And
himself
we were
in the
saying
back.
that we've seen him do this so many times. He's such an amazing driver, but when it counts, he seems to can't get out of his own
Who,
way.
who are we talking about? Sam and I had a.
We had an anal moment.
Kyle
Go
Larson.
ahead, Josh. You can say it.
Kyle Larson.
Okay, yeah, no. Yeah.
But you know what's
Yeah.
great though? You actually watch the race and you have some great insight. We had a full truck ride down here about the NASCAR race, and it's just
Yeah, see, I missed most of it, and then once the Bush
Were you
and
sleeping?
Truex wreck happened, I was at a barbecue.
that's why
and
he was
I
bored.
And then I put the phone out on the table and I just started watching the race in front of
Which
everybody.
someone was like really
yeah,
thought it was
some,
awesome.
some people thought it was kind
Yeah,
of cool.
no, yeah. That was really cool of those people. to
And
think
then
that.
when we get to the next point, we had
Eric's
the-
not cool, but
we had
NASCAR
the,
is.
the restart where it was Keselowski, Kane, and then Jimmy Johnson making it 3 wide down the back straight.
And his rear end was blowing up or something like that.
And
I don't
it-
even know what was happening.
48 was blowing smoke out of it like you wouldn't believe.
Out of his ass.
And my phone froze, and I freaked out for a split second because, like that, to me,
And
that
then all
was
the ladies
most-
you had lined up, they were like, "Oh, this guy's really weird. I'm going to get up and leave."
Yeah, that was the moment that they all headed for the hills. Because that was the most single-handedly exciting thing I've ever seen at Indy. Ever. Ever. In a NASCAR stock car. In a stock car.
Yeah.
Did you see the?
Nothing could top those balloons.
I did. I did see the meme that you guys shared on our Facebook page where it talks
Our
about them
Facebook
being
page
3
is
wide
so
for 100
lit.
feet.
It makes Lincoln Park look awful.
They were awful.
oh God.
They
Dead.
were. They were awful for years.
Oh no.
All right, so but the meme saying they're 3 wide for 100 feet, greatest race in Indy ever.
See, personally, I thought it was Jeff's 5th win, tying him with the great Michael Schumacher for the most wins at the Brickyard. But
and as one of the best things in the stock car
absolutely.
in Indy,
Oh
yeah.
my God, I was jumping up and down.
What was amazing to me was that the 5 coming off a 2 gets loose, nearly wrecks, saves it, then uses that side draft to keep pace with
And he's
the
like,
2.
"Yeah, this is great. I'm about to win this race."
Then the-
And all of a sudden, Jimmy Johnson's like,
Then
"Hold
the
my beer."
48 Yeah, exactly. Then the 48 comes up. He starts side drafting the 5. When they get to the end of the straightaway, you can see Kane's car starting to buff it back and forth. And then it was the 48 that got sucked around on the inside that ended
You
up
know what
putting
was
one
more
to the yellow
entertaining
again.
than all of this? I had a fire at my house Sunday. Sorry for the no invites, guys. But
When you say a fire, you mean like
a fire pit.
An
Yes.
intentional.
Yeah.
not
So-
like this was like an episode
I
of
don't know.
Rescue Me where like
no,
Dennis
yeah.
Leary comes.
So
with the
I
fire
knew
extinguisher
I
and
invited
fire
Ballard's
out.
getting
Nick Ballard
tense.
invited Hannah and Essence and all them. They've been on the show before, and Hannah is a huge Ryan Blaney fan. And what was more entertaining than the race was me trying to
Oh
explain.
my God, my boyfriend's got.
that Ryan Blaney wrecked. And she goes, "Who wrecked him? That douchebag Trevor."
My God.
Well, that happened after the cleanup of the Johnson crash. There was
It
so
took about
many
an hour and a
crashes
half
at
to
the
clean
end.
up that wreck.
I feel like there was
Oh.
about 10 wrecks from 5 to go on.
Yeah.
So they have the
Hannah's
wreck on the
entertaining.
restart. Now you got impending darkness. You
funny.
have all this crazy stuff that's happening. And Casey Kane and Keselowski find themselves in the front row, and Kane has the restart of his life. And he ends up taking the lead away. No surprise, they wreck again when they get to that freaking overtime line.
That was a hard hit with
it was
a Hamlin.
Yeah, Hamlin, Menard, and I believe there was one other car that was
Say
involved.
big money at
Um,
Menards.
And you end up having Casey Kane grabbing his first win in a very, very
100
long
races.
time.
I saw his last victory at Pocono in 2014.
Yes, that was it. in
Hashtag
fact.
throwback.
And you all,
Oh, you were there.
I was there.
Nice.
I was there.
Kane got the win. Keselowski was
Oh,
second.
wait a minute.
Ryan
That's the
Newman
race
was
when he
third.
beat Jeff around the outside. Oh, I
Yes.
hated that race.
No, you hated it because he outraced Jeff Gordon.
That was terrible.
It wasn't fuel mileage.
A lot of surprises.
There was passing.
all,
My
the,
bad, Eric.
all the contact and trouble for a lot of the top running contenders really put a lot of surprises towards the front of the pack. Daniel Suarez, the rookie, finishing 7th. Matt DiBenedetto with the best non-restricted plate finish
You know what
for that
pisses
team.
me off?
8th.
Is that Daniel Suarez, everyone says exactly, and I'm not yelling at you, Eric. Everyone says he got lucky. He finished in the front. He finishes up front even when there's no wrecks.
That's what he's been doing. Yeah, he's been running.
I know
very
he's a
strong
personal
and
fan
consistently.
favorite of yours, what he did for your nephew, Matthew.
Yep.
But, like, he's a great little race car driver, as, DW
Great
would put
little
it.
race car driver.
Well, I was listening to some of the other, network shows, like something like Fox Race Hub or something like that. And they were talking about
Fake
Suarez
news.
and some of the other guys that could come up, and because now with Kane winning, it really does scramble up that playoff picture, and it further screws Joey Logano up to this point.
And
since
that's
he
what I
had-
love about it. The
And-
last 9 races, 9 different winners.
Exactly. And for every other driver that you have that leapfrogs up into that position, they keep talking about Watkins Glen because that seems like the most logical place that it could happen.
For Joe Logano to win.
For a guy like maybe like AJ Allmendinger or
Joe Logano's been dominant at Watkins Glen the last 3 years.
How's Truex been doing? Because he was so good at Sonoma.
Truex has so many points, he could skip a freaking race.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not,
But in terms of disrupting that playoff picture,
No, I get what you're saying.
guys like Suarez and Allmendinger, it seems like they could actually make it happen.
Maybe Borsetta can come back and win the damn race, and boom.
Yeah, well,
Biffle's an idiot.
I'm going to beat his house. Everyone have his address?
you also had Chris Buescher, AJ Allmendinger, both in the top 10 for JTG
That was a cool to see
Doherty
that run.
Racing. Danica Patrick 11th, Cole Witt.
I want. She was up to 8, and that was racing.
Yes,
She raced her
Two
way
of those
up
cars
to
look
8.
pretty good.
All jokes aside, she's a great race car driver. It just sucks that, she gets hated on all the time.
She's a great person.
She's a great race car driver, Nick Rendell.
She's not. She's won in IndyCar, and there's no power steering in those things. So you and your F1
Kinda like your
mouth
Ferrari.
can Shut up for a minute.
They do have power steering in F1, I think.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I'm
they
saying.
do,
There's
yeah.
no power steering. So I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Get Eric. I'm sorry. We're,
was-
we're
No,
having
it's,
fun
it's
over
just,
here.
just to put a bow on some of
wonder
the
if she has
other
bigger
finish
arms than
results
me.
here.
Probably.
Cole Witt, who finished 12th. It was actually some really sad news that came down out of that team. It turns out that Witt's car owner, who was Mark Smith, the owner of TriStar Motorsports, actually passed away yesterday after a short personal battle with cancer. He was in his 60s. The team will continue on with his son at the helm. But that's a very good result for that team, considering that they're not a big money team. They usually run well at the plate tracks. Decent finish for them. And also Timmy Hill getting the best finish for Carl Long's organization, 14th in a very high-paying race. So a lot of topsy-turvy finishes throughout this whole
You know
thing.
who would have won that race? The caution sportsman race didn't break out. Trevor Bayne would have won that race.
He looked really good.
He would have won that race, and
he got caught up.
It was really hard to hear him.
Who was it that wanted to continue after that one wreck?
Austin Dillon. He was being an idiot.
He
was being an idiot.
He was. Well, he's always an idiot, but
I agree with that dumb hat. It's not funny. I don't know why he still wears it.
I don't mind the dabbing. I don't care.
Anyway.
It makes it fun. It's different. It does not bother me.
It's just his car was destroyed.
I don't think it was destroyed.
He tried to
What
pull
dabbing?
down. Well, but the problem
that he
was
dabs?
NASCAR. While these two guys are, oh good God,
What?
We're just here
there
dabbing.
goes Eric Brennan's announcing career. No, but the problem,
Nobody can see that.
the problem is that NASCAR had
It just
such
popped in there.
yeah.
I dabbed, folks.
Austin
That's all
Dillon
that
in victory
happened.
lane. Anyway, it was just hard to see because they had no lights at Indy, and they're at the edge of people who don't know where Indianapolis is. They're on the edge of the Eastern time zone, so that it's lighter longer. But once it starts getting dark out, it gets dark out because it gets out rather quickly. So they have no lights there, and NASCAR was taking their sweet ass time. Cleaning up the wrecks.
It was a long cleanup.
And this is an issue NASCAR has because this is not the first race we've seen this.
They got the
an
track
issue at.
dry faster than they got that wreck cleaned
Hire
up.
the Wall Stadium guys. They'll run circles around the NASCAR guys.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you there.
I'm on board.
Something's up with how long it takes.
I don't
to clean up
understand.
some of these wrecks. I don't understand.
They're
it.
watching Austin Dillon dab on his race car.
And while we're on the subject of the matter, they started the race. Now, granted, you can't control the weather.
No.
But why are we starting the Brickyard 400 at 2:45 Eastern? It should be starting at noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock the latest. You know,
I
for
would go
that
at
very
1.
reason. I mean, and you don't need the thunderstorms and rain showers that you had to delay the race. I mean, a couple big wrecks, a couple long red flags, which, we had some of that. But, you got to allow yourself some wiggle room. And if you're not running any other racing events beforehand,
I think
then
they
why
were
not start
counting
the
on
races
it
earlier.
They were counting on it being as boring as last year.
Yep.
I think that's honestly what it was.
And they were like,
weren't-
oh, there's going to be no passing, no racing. We'll just go green. We'll reach some balloons.
Overall, it still was a fairly boring race. It was just, like you said, the last 5 or 10 laps when everybody decided to keep, wrecking.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I mean, the stage racing did help a little.
Yeah, well, even
Not
in
a
this
lot,
case, the
a
18
little.
just dominated.
Yeah. The 78 and the 18, yeah, you ran into that issue. But, I mean, Truex has dominated how many races? Kyle Busch was finally getting closer to getting back to winning. But, overall, it was still not that entertaining of a race, at least until the end. I mean, I guarantee the Radioactive was just on right before we're starting. If I can find that, if it goes online, which it will soon, I'm sure, the majority of that is because normally it's 7 minutes long, something like that, maybe a little less, 5 to 7 minutes. 5 or 6 minutes of that 7 minutes is going to be the last 5 laps.
Yeah, pretty much, because that's where all the action seemed to take place. And
Yeah.
And one final note on the late start time. You see a lot of media members and current drivers clamoring, wishing that they would go back to the earlier start times. A lot of fans want that, so that way they could assure themselves to get home a little bit earlier in case they have to work on Monday. Well, here's the downside of that. That was the best rated Brickyard 400 in terms of television ratings since 2011.
That's because there's nothing but crap on TV nowadays.
Well, no, I think it's because people saw highlights from the Xfinity race and thought that package was going to be put on the Cup cars, which it wasn't.
But the problem is going to
That's
be
a good point, Josh.
I think they saw that it looked good. They said, "Ooh, I hope tomorrow's like that."
Here's a
not
decent
realizing,
Xfinity race.
Yeah, it was. It was. It wasn't perfect, but it was a hell of a lot better than the Cup race. As Eric gets
As there's dead air.
Sorry, I thought you guys were going to continue going, and I was reading a controversial text message that a friend of mine
Anyway,
had.
the Xfinity race you brought up, Josh, I didn't see it. Eric Brennan was enjoying the crap out of it at Wall Stadium.
it was
Yeah,
fun.
then I got in trouble because the TV monitor was on still when the racing started. That race should have ended. Oops. We got a monitor upstairs we were supposed to use for like weather radar, and I figured out a way to get NBC Sports Live on it. So I was watching the Xfinity
there
race
goes
on there
that.
once we started to get going.
He
and
found the remote.
They weren't too happy about
They were
it. So
hiding.
that will not happen anymore. But I got to see like some really, really, really good racing with that Xfinity
You mean a
Series
pass in
package.
Well, the
Xfinity
thing
race?
was, there was a lot of tandem, a lot of. Now, here's the thing: unlike the super speedways, they're allowed to lock bumpers at Indy.
That's
I
a new rule
love
that they
the
took away
tandem
from it.
stuff.
Yeah,
I love the tandem locking. Those were the best.
You
Remember
know,
that Hendrick finish?
I'm not gonna lie.
2011, I think?
It was always boring racing, but produced great finishes.
I even thought the race.
And you want to know what? At the end of the day,
You know, I just love the idea of having like a dance partner. You know, like I'll be like with Brennan, and then like
you
a couple
gotta
laps
dance
later,
with the one that
I'll
brought
help you out.
Hold on.
And then like
What the hell does that mean?
Josh was
I'll
having a
never
problem.
leave you hanging.
So I'm
Nick
dropping
Rendo
to the
enjoys
back of
pouring
the pack
around.
to pull Josh back up with us, and then we all finish.
it's like that
so
speed
sick.
comp they had on the video games
I
back
love
in the
it.
day. Remember, you know, the speed comp.
Oh, we
thing?
could drop
Right,
back and be
Nick?
the teammate.
Yes,
Yes. If you have engine problems, just go to
Yes.
your other teammate.
This is why Nick Rendo and I are friends.
I love
Oh my
watching these two.
god!
I have.
Dude, remember that
The kids are excited
paint
today. I
schemes?
love it.
The test paint schemes?
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh
yes.
my god!
Dale, race the truck, Dale. Yes. We just lost like 30% of our viewers now.
Yeah.
Well, what was cool about the particular package is most lead changes ever, 16 lead changes among 8 different leaders.
That's impressive.
That's Indianapolis records. I would consider the race only about 4 years old. And
Because they took it away from ORP or IRP or some. Don't talk to me.
but now
that
the
makes me
the
sad.
counter argument that was made from anybody who got into any type of discussion about that was
holds more people.
The problem was that in O'Reilly Raceway Park was one of the lowest paying races of the year. Now the Xfinity race at Indianapolis, the big track, is the second highest paying race of the Xfinity calendar. So although you don't like to hear this in terms of racing, you got to go where the money is, and the money's there. And if you could figure out a way to get the product to where it's exciting for us to watch, then why not?
But then let's screw the little tracks.
I don't.
ORP was my favorite track to watch on TV. That and Milwaukee.
Believe me, I don't see. Considering the fact that they visit a couple of markets twice a year, you know, they go to Bristol twice, Xfinity, right? They go to Iowa twice a year. They go to Bristol twice a year. Why can't you go to Indy twice a year? You know, go not big track one time and then go to the little track for something else. You know, the ARCA race that was at O'Reilly Raceway Park, that was one of the best races of the weekend. You know, it was a thriller on Friday. I didn't get to see the whole thing. But you had a 3-wide move for the lead. I believe it was Dalton Sargent that went storming up to the field late and took the lead from Michael Self like 8 to go and won.
Didn't the trucks race this week too?
They ran at Eldora.
Fantastic racetrack.
Well,
Best track I've ever been to.
On the Xfinity side of things, William Byron held off a late charging Paul Menard to win another race in his rookie campaign and perhaps strengthen the argument that despite Casey Kane winning this past Sunday in the number 5 car, maybe Byron will get that seat. We know he's not going to the 88 because it was announced that Alex Bowman will officially get tapped to replace Dale
And where's
Earnhardt
Dale
Jr.
Jr. going?
He's going to NBC.
He's not okay.
What?
Well, where's Brad Keselowski going to go?
He just re-signed with the 2 team today.
Hopefully back home.
That was the big announcement.
Back home with his brother Brian.
So
And their
And
dad,
Bob.
and their dad who's gonna get a fire seat on and take out Carl. He's not gonna do that to my boy.
apparently Brian, Bob Keselowski, he still tries to chase like land speed records and stuff, and Brian helps him out. And
Really?
yeah,
Nick Rendo's on a kick now. He has a thing for stunt drivers.
Oh my God.
well, like Stanton Barrett.
No.
Female stunt driver.
No.
Oh God! All right, before we go down that road, Sam, you talked about the Truck Series race at Eldora. That race was run last Wednesday night. Again, it was our intention to put a show together for you on Thursday to perhaps put a bow on that because of how impressive that event usually is.
You know what was more impressive? The King's Royal Saturday night before that.
which was a race that you were able to attend.
Heck yeah.
And how was it?
Fantastic. Best track I've ever been to.
Really?
And I've been to Daytona.
Our very own
I've been to
Sam
Pocono.
Ballard has been to Eldora.
Best
Incredible.
racetrack I've ever been to.
You know, between all of us, we've all been to some killer, badass
Well,
tracks.
I was texting a friend of mine, my friend
That
Adam.
is sick.
He's actually a guy that I met up in Boston for St. Patrick's Day, and he happens to be a race fan.
You got a bar?
And yeah,
Lucky guess.
McGreevy's. It's owned by the Dropkick Murphys. Is Josh laughing at me? So we were up there, and I got to meet him, and he texted me because he was watching the race somewhere. I was watching the race somewhere, and I was like, you know what, dude, let's just go next year. He's like, 100%, I'll put in for the vacation for it right
Eldora?
now. Yeah.
You got not
So I
for the
think-
truck race.
No, for the truck race.
No,
You
why?
have to.
You know what?
'Cause
You know what you
it's
need
an
to do?
event.
You-
It's the biggest truck race of the year.
No, it's not. The biggest truck race of the year is Martinsville.
Oh no. Who won Martinsville? I rest my case. All right.
I don't even know.
You know who won Eldora for the last like 4 years?
No, I don't.
I don't.
Oh, come on. You have to. You have to know. It was crap.
I know Bubba Sparks. I mean, Bubba.
Didn't you say Brittany Sparks on the way down? What is it with you and the Sparks?
Is it Bubba Sparks, the white rapper?
I found you, Miss New Booty.
Yeah, that's the guy.
My bad. The other Bubba, the race car driver Bubba. I know he won.
No, yeah. Well, you had Crafton, Larson, Bubba Wallace. I'm gonna say Bubba Sparks now. I know I'm gonna do this.
Can't believe Lewis Hamilton won Eldora.
Austin Dillon won the inaugural one. I feel like I'm missing one. Wait, what just happened?
Oh my god!
I don't know.
He's never up on the. Oh god!
Well, anyway, with the truck race at Eldora, Stuart Friesen essentially dominated 3/4 of the race. Then when it got to the very end, Matt Crafton, who was the one driver that you do not expect to have any type of
luck.
dirt racing expertise
You mean luck?
and luck,
You mean luck?
turns out
Who's
that
in the 4?
Christopher
My boy
Bell.
Christopher Bell, who I
Yeah.
met at the King's Royal.
And Bell also won at Eldora, so that's all of them. I'm
But
pretty sure.
he was the favorite for a while, and he was holding strong despite destroying the right front and taking the
he
toe out of that
self-spun and then got T-boned by Kaz Grala, which put Grala out of the race.
Yep.
Bell was able to continue on, charge all the way back up to the field, and then had a tire go down. We're running in the top 3 towards the latter portion of the race.
Truex luck.
And Crafton just found something. I don't know what Crafton did. It may have been something to do with the shifting on it. I know they were talking about him
speed?
using third gear while some of the other competitors were still running in high gear. And Crafton just kind of stormed past Friesen and never looked back. It was Crafton, Friesen, Briscoe, and Enfinger, the top 4. John Hunter Nemechek rounded out the top 5. Bobby Pierce also rebounded from a lot of trouble at the beginning of the race to finish 6th. And it was Christopher Bell who, as Josh said, was one of the more dominant trucks. He had to settle for 9th, which is still
Where did Norm Benning finish?
pretty good finish, all things being considered. Benning came home 13th.
That's not bad.
No, that's why I said it, Josh.
So,
But he's not a 57 anymore, so screw him.
number 6.
Yeah. Blah.
So all the NASCAR series are in action once again this weekend. You will have Cup, even ARCA, which we talked about very briefly. They're not NASCAR. And the Truck Series, they'll all be at Pocono. And the Xfinity Series will go back to Iowa Speedway for their second race of the year. And I think that's going to be the next and possibly last opportunity for Ryan Preece in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 20.
You know, I was listening to some Sirius XM because we have time to kill because there's really no open wheel stuff. I was listening to Sirius XM.
I actually have a cool story, but
But I'm right though.
it's all good.
Anyway, so Ryan Preece, the sponsorship said, "Hey, listen, do you want to run 4 or 5 or even 6 races with a lower caliber team, or do you want to run 2 races with a top tier team?" And Ryan Preece went to Joe Gibbs and said, "Hey, I got sponsorship for 2 races. Are you in?" And Joe Gibbs said, "Yeah." And he's really being able to prove himself now. I think he's a great race car driver, Ryan Preece.
I
Yeah.
want to say that Eldora actually this year wasn't as terrible as previous years. Whatever they did to work the track, they actually did have 2 lanes.
You know what's really cool there is that I got a drink and like 5 food items, and it was less than $10.
Stop raving about the prices.
No, that's something that Eldora prides themselves on, is how
It's
affordable
not.
they
It's
are.
not bad.
But if you
I
go,
think it's a good thing.
You have to
but
drive to the middle of Ohio to get there. So I mean, it's kind of.
That's why I was telling Adam,
spend all your money on gas.
There's
anyway.
no hotels near the track. It's literally like, all right, we'll go sleep in some corn over here.
If we are going to go, I got to figure out if it makes more sense to drive out there or to just fly out there.
we got to get a rental car or something.
Yeah.
Get an Uber.
Rent a camper, but don't pull it with a small SUV and tip it over on the parkway.
No, that is how you.
Hashtag bad luck, Brian.
That is how not to pull a camper.
Once it started swaying, they should have gotten the gas and tried to straighten that thing out, but no.
Well, Eric, never mind. Never mind. Love you, Eric.
Anyway,
I love you too. So that would pretty much do it for the stock car portion of our
That was
program.
fun.
I think we did well. I have no idea how much time
We
spent
always
on
do
that,
well. What the
but
hell are you talking about?
about 25 minutes at least.
Not bad. Not bad, folks. Who would have thought that Indianapolis and Eldora would have given us 25 minutes of talking time?
Oh, we like to complain, so
Yeah, that makes it easy.
I was over there watching what was called the NASCAR crap race.
When we come back on the other side of the RPM podcast, we're going to talk about IndyCar debuting their 2018 bodywork
Yeah.
in Indianapolis today.
gorgeous.
Also, Nick Rendo apparently has a
gorgeous,
story
Nick.
that he wants to touch on, and we'll get into a few other subjects of conversation that took place over this past weekend. All that and more when we come back to the RPM podcast. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. If you're looking for a dependable full auto repair and preventative maintenance center, then you need to check out O'Shea's Auto Repair in Wall, New Jersey. The family man himself, Tim O'Shea, has been providing the highest quality of automotive repair since 2000 on both domestic and imported cars, trucks, and SUVs. From race cars to street cars, O'Shea's Auto Repair covers it all. For more information, visit their website at o'shea'sautorepair.com. O'Shea's Auto Repair, supporter of the RPM Podcast and proud sponsor of the O'Shea Auto Repair Factory Stops at Wall Stadium Speedway. Welcome back to the RPM podcast, along with Josh Matthews running the board, Sam Ballard Jr. bringing the humor, Nick Rendo,
I got the ice cream.
and I'm Eric Brennan. Just touch on everything that the stock car weekend had to offer. Quiet weekend in the world of open wheel racing. However, one thing that happened today was the first introductory test laps for the new 2018 bodywork that will make up the IndyCar series. Both Chevrolet and Honda had a car out there that is going to be the same universal body kit that it was designed by Dallara.
So it's still Dallara.
Yeah, Dallara.
It's just new.
Right. And
Okay.
instead of having a aero kit that is designed by both Honda and Chevy, they will now continue to be competing engine manufacturers, but the bodywork or the aerodynamic makeup of the cars will be a universal kit. You had testing for Chevrolet, Juan Pablo Montoya, and on the Honda side, Oriol Servia, a couple of drivers who have raced this season for each respective manufacturer. Lap times were somewhere
Where
in the
is this at?
mid-215 range. Just said Indianapolis today. And it appears...
Was there any debris left from the NASCAR race?
No. In fact, I didn't even think of that, Josh, that they scheduled this so close to the Brickyard weekend. That's
Especially if it had to, I mean, well, I guess if you think about it, if it ran over because of weather, which they did have the weather issues, what if they had to postpone it till Monday and then, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot that went into this. One of the things that they're looking to do, according to an article from motorsport.com, is an effort to try to cut cost. First consideration that Jay Fry, IndyCar president of competition operations, made, and his technical team were trying to do was to keep the initial capital outlay for the new bodywork at a reasonable figure for all existing teams. Because, mind you, these teams and the manufacturers invested all this money only about 2 or 3 years ago when the Aero Kit concept went into play. And they had to dump all this money into engineering and testing and designing bodywork that would somehow be competitive. Remember, Chevrolet ran away with it when it first came out, especially on the road and street courses. And then Honda kind of caught up over the last couple of seasons. But it's just never produced what I think we all thought it would, and that was ultra-competitive racing. So they're going back to this type of universal outlook. Which, have you guys seen the cars yet? I don't know.
I got a quick peek at it. I'm all for the, everybody being kind of the same, even though it does take away from the manufacturer end, because who cares if it's Chevy or Honda at that point, because everything looks the same.
They're gorgeous.
And I also want shut up. I also want to say that
Love it.
no halo,
Those
no
tires.
shield.
Now, one thing that it does say is that Dallara and the manufacturers, they designed this car with the concept of adding some type of head or cockpit protection down the line.
Okay,
So
good.
they didn't come up with anything just yet because we still have the FIA fumbling on what the hell they're going to do, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that got a lot of attention from drivers and teams and fans alike is the rear section of this car, which I'm looking at right now. If you're familiar with the current bodywork of a 2017 Indy car, there is a lot of just a gigantic rear wheel cover. It's like a solid piece that clips onto the back of the rear wing. Some people call it the Kardashian bumper because it just looks like a giant rear that sits on the back of the car.
Oh, no.
It's gone. There's nothing
Must
in
be
the
useless.
back of this car except for the gearbox and a very thin rear wing for the oval configurations. And it looks badass.
Yeah. No, it looks like the back of iRacing. It looks like you're literally behind someone on iRacing. It's sick.
It's really cool. And there's
I
also
love
been
it.
a lot of individual aerodynamic testing, which have been done to try to test these cars to make sure that they will not lift if they are turned at 90, 180, or 360 degrees to try to keep them planted on the ground. And also there will be the majority of the downforce of these cars, I think upwards of 66% will all be generated from the under tray of the car, which is up about 20% from what the car has now. The technology that went into how this thing is built and designed, and also there's some enhanced safety features that are available in this car, all of which is
Wait,
available to
available?
read at motorsport.com.
Are they integrated or available? Saying they're available makes it sound like it's an option.
No, well, they upgraded to it.
Okay.
You post IndyCar shared that on their Facebook, right?
The entire pictures of the car itself, along with, for some of the more technical advanced articles, I would refer to motorsport.com.
I'm gonna retweet it or reshare it on our Facebook.
Yeah, that way people can everybody that's listening to this can get a good look at it, or they'll probably see it before they even listen to this episode. But yeah,
Now, Nick, you had something you want to touch on in terms of a good story on the Formula One side of things? Or you're not
The
ready for that
flip flops,
just
the
yet?
racing.
Oh, I'm ready. What's up?
what's up?
That was everyone.
Welcome.
Well, if this F1 season couldn't have got any more enjoyable, exciting, mouth-watering, it just did. We all know the famed, help me out here, Eric, the famed Robert Kubica.
Yes.
Yeah, you know him, right? So, yeah.
This is a big deal.
It's amazing.
Big
Huge,
league?
huge deal that is going to come up even quicker than I think people realize. He was in a terrible, terrible rally crash a couple years ago where he broke like all the tendons in his hand. It was terrible, actually. They didn't even think
He actually penetrated a piece of guardrail that went through the cockpit of the car and essentially through his hand.
Yeah.
It pretty much. He's lucky it didn't impale him to the seat.
Which actually isn't the worst. Well, it is the worst accident he's ever been in, but he's been in another horrific one in Canada, and then he
Yep.
actually came back the following year and won the Grand Prix of Canada in Formula One. So the guy is just an incredible, incredible talent. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando say he's one of the best they've ever raced against. So I think there was something, maybe you read it too, that he said if he would get better, he was in talks with the Renault F1 team, and he just wanted to get a test
Right.
just to drive an F1 car one more time to just kind of say that he recovered and he can do it. So he got that test, and I think they ran around Valencia, which is an old track, and he drove in the 2012 Renault car, which would have actually been a Lotus car. And they said it was so fast and so consistent that it blew away their expectations, and they never even thought that they were going to do this, but they're actually giving him a test in Hungary. They're pulling Julian Palmer out of the car in FP1, free practice 1,
Okay.
and giving him a test. And the word is, if all goes well, they think he could be in the car as soon as Spa, actually taking Julian Palmer out of the car, which is incredible. And then I was reading more into that because I'm kind of skeptical about it, but now I'm not because I was reading into it, and they say the reason Palmer was hired was not because of his talent, because of the backing that he brings to the team.
Right.
But they think that the constructor point money that he's taking away from the team by having beyond awful finishes is actually...
you can't go with Silverstone because the car broke on him before
but just the
during the
whole year.
formation. Well, yeah, but some of it's
He's
how much
so
is bad
fa-
luck?
he's
La-
so
la-
far
last year
behind
as well. The
He's
results
so
haven't
far-
been there, and
yeah.
I think the expectations were higher. And honestly, I don't think that it was really known that Palmer was brought in for his financial backing until
now.
They kind of came out and said it. I mean, I
Right.
thought, former champion, open more ranks, like, Palmer kind of earned
Yeah.
that ride, young up-and-coming guy. Renault was apparently in a rebuilding error, and you thought that was
Error or era?
Era, ERA.
There you go.
Era. Era.
But
Error.
I think
You
now
said
they
error.
feel like if they had somebody matching Nico Hulkenberg, what Nico
Grammar Nazi.
Hulkenberg is bringing to the team,
Exactly.
they would have more money in constructor winnings. That would be winnings, right? Constructor proceeds at the end of the year than he's bringing. So they think that he's actually doing more damage than he is good. So if all goes well with this in this test, which I mean, why wouldn't it? The guy's incredible. He could be in the car by Spa. So now imagine if we knew that in March that the year would be finished out with Kubica on the grid.
Well,
It's amazing.
But the thing is, I don't think anybody would have thought that Kubica would ever
Drive
ever
a car,
return to,
let alone a Formula One
yeah,
car.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be the greater story. Is
it's
just,
incredible.
is the comeback aspect, because a lot of people thought that, like, when you get, if you're that mortally injured in a wreck of any magnitude like
Yeah.
that, to come back to any race
Well, they didn't
car,
ever think his hand would work again. This
Yeah.
is beyond amazing.
like Alex Zanardi returned from his terrible wreck in Germany in 2001, minus 2 legs, to race touring cars, and be successful and win. He's also, I don't know, if they don't call it unicycling, but it's like, what is that?
Paralympics.
Yeah, what are those cycles called? I can't.
the ones
think of
where
the
you
name.
lay down. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're hand pedals.
Yeah.
But he ended up winning gold medals in that. So, but that's different.
They
than
race
coming
Tonka
back.
bikes.
He's
and-
coming back to the pinnacle of motorsport. It's
Exactly.
incredible.
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 This would be the biggest story of a driver returning from injury, I think, ever.
I agree with you 100%. 32 years old and he's coming back into Formula One. I mean, that alone is unprecedented.
And I mean, I can't think he had to have been out for over 5 years now, close
What?
to 5 years,
Yeah,
maybe
he-
more.
he came out before 2010 because I don't think he was in the new era of car. 2010 was his last year.
Yeah,
And the fact that he came back from that Montreal accident, if anyone has seen it, it will make you,
Just let our listeners know, this article they're talking about and the IndyCar stuff is all shared on our Facebook. So if you want more information,
Yeah.
that
so
way.
ridiculously cool on that. So everyone can't wait to see him in FP1. I bet you he's going to outscore Palmer's.
What about the
FP2
even bigger
time.
news that came out this week in F1?
Yeah.
Josh's dream.
Yeah.
They're racing flip flops now in Formula One.
They are
Yeah. They allowed the Halo in for next year
flip flops.
Yeah, it looks like a flip flop.
on top. You know, the little part that goes in between
I
the
see
big
what
toe.
you're getting at now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also
I-
look like TKs. You know what I'm getting at. But anyways, yeah.
dear.
So unfortunately, that's gonna be on the grid next year. But I'm still hoping.
Nick made a thong
Stop.
joke.
So now here's all right.
There's so much backlash.
We have two opposite ends of the spectrum here. So now Rendo points out that this is an unfortunate move for the FIA and Formula One. Well, this has been something that Josh has been clamoring for quite some time. So this is unplanned. This is this just fly by night. But I want each of you to state your case as to why you're against it, why you're for it, and I want to hear it as passionately as I can. So
Eric and I
So
are
wait, are you Judge Jury next?
no, Eric and I are going
I'm
to take a
Judge
pee break.
Judy.
You're Judge Judy,
Yes,
the executioner.
I'll roll my eyes and everything else in between, and I'll just sit back, relax,
all
and
right,
enjoy.
all right, cool.
Because
Send the
I'll be
bailiff.
honest, I'm on the fence. I don't know how I feel about
All right,
it yet.
since
I
I'm a-
hate fence sitters.
Since I'm a gentleman,
No, he hits from both sides of the fence. That's it.
Oh, well,
right.
maybe. You never know.
All right, since I'm a
But-
gentleman, I'll go first. So, it's stupid. No,
If you want a safe race car, go race a stock car.
I understand where they're coming from to protect the drivers' heads and whatnot. It wouldn't have saved Felipe.
They don't use their heads anyway. What difference
It,
does
it
it
wouldn't
make?
have saved Felipe Massa in
Wrong.
his accident. It wouldn't have. There's a picture of it
Wrong.
where the bar is and where the
Wrong.
spring hit him on his left eye. Also, now you have people
Objection.
driving
This
at
is great.
210 miles an hour in cars that are longer, wider, and faster now. And you want to put a pole in front of their face when they go into the turn? I mean, it's we have people like Palmer on the grid. Like, you have to keep your eyes open. I mean, this is incredible. And there's a lot of black
anymore.
traffic. And you know there's more passing now, so they
Did
need
you say
their
black
eyes.
traffic?
No, well, no.
No, what back traffic. Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
Although he's not wrong.
no, he's always in the front. He ain't getting laughed.
That's the second Lewis Hamilton joke.
It's just no. It's I don't see. I would not want to race with a bar in front of my face.
All right, so Josh, now you.
But the
think-
shield ain't much better. Seb said his vision gets foggy and all blurry when he looks like very far ahead.
I think
so.
it's just that's a user problem.
That might be a Seb problem,
So-
unfortunately. Anything else?
Take it away. No. I think right now I'm okay.
You think?
I think so, but I think it's cool how there's a sponsor on it.
All right. Anyway,
Gotta market everything. From
Okay.
Lewis's underwear to
If I got to hear overtime brought to you by Credit One Bank one more time, I'm gonna write more than one angry letter. I'm sorry, Josh. You go ahead.
all right.
Rick Allen, you're gonna get it.
all right. So, I think the Halo is the better of the two choices that were proposed between the Shield or the Halo, and my argument is now it doesn't immediately mean that it would have saved Massa in that spring incident. But if you look at where it hit him on the visor and the size of the spring, I think it would have taken a lot of that impact. I mean, I'm not, like a lug nut, or something like that would have plenty of room where it could go through and hit the visor, and you could still have a Senna style incident.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's perfect, but something as large as a spring, something definitely as large as a tire, it's going to be able. It also looks sturdier. It will be able to deflect that and absorb that impact a lot better than I think the Shield. I know they were showing tests of firing like with an air gun a tire at the Shield, and the Shield would deflect and kind of send the tire off a little bit, but it looked like the Shield was overall weak, and all the drivers that tested the Halo didn't seem to have that big of a problem with the vision change. They said it was a very minor impact on their vision, and Sam had said, Seb was saying, you have this conical piece of plastic
They'll
for
get
the
used
shield.
to it. They'll get used to it.
But I'm saying if you've gotten in a car with a warped windshield and it kind of distorts as you look through, I mean, you're going to have a conical piece of like Lexan here. I think that's going to be worse. Plus, with rain and things like that, you already have it on the visor when they're racing the wet, but they could also wipe that off or use a tear off. When it's on the screen in front of them, I see that being a bigger issue. So I think out of those two options, until you come up with an F-16 cockpit with like a full canopy that something which
That would be sick.
it would look cool,
That's
but
what the top fuel cars have now.
but that's what Robo Race is even looking like. Those cars are going to end up looking like, I
So
believe.
that was going to be my next question. So now, okay,
but that gets rid of
We
open.
got a lot of questions
right.
this week.
Well, that's just for
All right,
discussion.
all right. So before you make your decision, any questions? Let's go.
Well, now, okay, so you both make valid points here. Now, what Josh just referred to, that entire closed cockpit or that closed canopy thing like the Top Fuel dragsters have, do you think that would be a viable solution, or is that too much of a hurdle to get over in order for it to be successful in open wheel racing?
No, I think it's viable. I definitely think it's viable. I mean, the only thing that
You're
would be a
going to run
problem-
into fans that are going to be like, it's not real racing.
Does it ruin the tradition of open wheel, open cockpit
People are
racing?
going to say that. I don't really care.
Screw Europeans.
Well, I mean, when they got helmets, I guess it ruined a pretty big tradition. So
Go back to,
yeah, screw you, Dan Gurney.
think about it.
So-
How many hockey players never wore helmets? You know, you go back to the 60s, 70s, things like
This
that.
ain't hockey.
And now they all have helmets and then the face shields and things.
yeah. So I think there's that aspect. You know what's funny is you were talking about what word did you use for the windshield like that?
Conical.
Right. So I guess my dragster had that, but you know what's funny is my eyes were actually one level above the windshield, and I didn't actually really look through it. So I can imagine if I
it
did.
extended up.
Yeah, and there was just so much vibration in the body, I would try and look over it because it was so hard to see with the vibration. Though I know that Red Bull actually made a windshield that was flat and then had two little edges and then straight. So it was straight to
That
and then
would be
flat.
a little
So I
bit
thought that
better.
one was really cool, and I wish that they would explore that one a little bit more.
I think that if it hit in the center,
they
they're
have
going
it.
to have structural issues.
'Cause
Personally,
it's- okay.
But I think it's cool that F1 is trying this because now if it doesn't work out, they can't say they didn't try it.
Well, the cool thing
Yeah.
is for
Now they're not looking like a bunch of ass butts.
look, none of this. I don't think even the Halo would have saved Jules Bianchi. Okay.
no, that's just stupidity.
That was.
You know what would have saved him? Maybe not having a crane on the track in a green sector
The-
when it's raining out.
yeah.
that
Right?
what was it?
Preach, boy, preach.
But they even had a corner marshal that was run over by a crane in a race.
Canada.
Yeah.
And F1 just kind of sweeps under the table like it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, volunteer, expendable.
Another one bites the dust.
I actually really want to volunteer and be like an F1 marshal in like Canada. No, I'm serious. Then you guys can like call in. I'll call in. The background you hear is like,
You're such a flagger.
I feel like it's incredible.
I have a friend who wants to have his bachelor party in Canada, and I'm trying to convince him to do it the week of the F1 race.
Can I go?
And he's a semi, of course, he's a
Okay,
semi
yeah.
car guy, so like he would kind of enjoy it.
Semi-car guy.
Like he's into cars, he's not really into racing.
So why doesn't he just come to
He's
race day?
semi a man.
And then me and
So-
you we'll go to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
And he just comes to Sunday.
That's we were talking about it at the barbecue on
Do you
Sunday.
see this? There's
I see it.
sabotage. This is why you don't have friends, Eric Brennan.
What? I have plenty of friends. I have too many friends. Is my problem.
Is that TOO or TWO?
TOO.
Okay, just making sure.
But you can never have too many friends because I'm Eric Brennan and I'm awesome. So, and that's my story. And I'm sticking to
Oh,
it.
that
Said no girl ever.
Yes.
So
I love
they,
it.
they may have said it once and then they did a 180 on it, so it
When you
counts.
Bill Cosby though.
No, that did not happen. All right, so there isn't a lot of
On the
local racing
pudding.
to talk about, but we are going to touch on a few small individual stories to kind of highlight what's coming up this weekend. It's a big weekend at Wall Stadium Speedway, big weekend for me, and I'm excited. So we're going to talk about that as well.
That's because the main announcer at Wall isn't going to be there.
and the number 2 guy in command is going on vacation. So I'm hoping I get to hang out with Ryan Flores for the night. I
Which
have to
means you
text him,
you
actually.
can't be late to Wall.
So I won't be. Although I may go paintballing in the morning.
See?
I'm trying
Nice.
to debate
He's
that.
going to be late.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
gonna sit down
I'm
and be like,
thinking
gonna be
about it. I don't
so
know.
late.
It's gonna be like a 9 a.m.
I'll be here at
start.
6:30, guys.
see.
7:30 comes around.
done
Hey guys.
We'll see how
I'll
it
be
works.
between 4 and 6. Maybe 6:30. Looks like 7.
I drove a hold on a second. I drove a Brickyard 400 today so far, and I still got to go home. I'm gonna have 500 miles of driving today.
You should go out and buy balloons and release them every mile down the parkway.
I filled up my truck twice
One balloon,
today.
2 balloon, 3 balloon.
300. I have. I filled up twice. Still have to go home. And I have to go to
I'll let
Manhattan.
that slide.
All those dead bodies.
So there's no dead bodies. It's just me and electrical stuff.
Dead
Alarm
weight,
stuff.
not dead.
Dead bodies have more personality than Eric Brennan.
Yes, and that thing will only go 90.
Oh my
the speedometer
God.
on
Oh
it.
my God.
The,
God.
the speedometer on it goes to 130.
So-
I totally think that's Ford selling
we
the
come
eye
back-
candy. That thing will never go 120 ever. I think I could empty it out and I could refresh the whole thing.
I hope
and
you
it will
drive through
never go that
Titten Falls
fast.
again.
So,
All right. Anyway.
You think your Accord Sport can go like 120?
wait, what?
You think your Accord
And
Sport
this-
can go like 120?
No, this is my Ford Transit,
I know,
my
but do you
van.
think your Accord
Oh,
Sport?
I know
When we
it
come
can.
back, we'll talk about
I know it
Eric
can.
Brennan's big break at Wall Stadium and about the rain breaking our rhythm at Wall Stadium.
Yes.
And,
al-
so much more.
And also a very surprising story out of San Jose, California. We'll talk about that as well. When we come back to the RPM podcast, don't go anywhere.
Please don't.
Catch me if you can. Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. Want to get in touch with us? Send us an email at racingpodcastnj@gmail.com. And yes, hate mail for Josh is encouraged.
That's racist.
What? Oh, I remember that. That thing. The
thing with the stuff on it. The
Yeah.
bells and...
The thing. Welcome back to the RPM Podcast. Josh Matthews, Sam Ballard Jr., Nick Rendo. I'm Eric Brennan.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I'll tell you, it seems like no matter what we do, or where your favorite short track is in the state of New Jersey, it's just guaranteed to rain. I mean, if you need rain for whatever reason, just schedule a motor race.
You can't even
it'll
blame
happen.
JC for this one.
No, it's
Duval.
it's literally everything. In fact, as we record this show, the Jersey Rush is taking place in New Egypt Speedway tonight. I did see numbers on how many cars were there. I think I saw 20 sprints, 16 modifieds unofficially that were signed in. But it seems like they're in a holding pattern for what I am assuming is perhaps weather.
To quote my friend Eddie Rabbit, I love the rainy nights.
Didn't you use that last episode?
I did. Well, it still hasn't changed.
No, you're right.
I like the rainy nights.
Just very bizarre. However, there are some things to look forward to, including specifically this weekend at Wall Stadium Speedway, where we will have a twin 40-lap feature events for the Freehold Ford Modified, sponsored by Pete and Elder's Bar. That is, I'll tell you, if you've never been to Pete and Elder's, my
Great.
goodness,
I've
they
never
have
been.
some incredible food.
Really good.
And I'm so glad they're stepping up and improving their participation at Wall Stadium Speedway because they're just great people. $1,500 cash the winner of each race, plus additional bonuses. Limited late models. There will also be two 25-lap factory stock feature events and a standard feature for the NX Legend cars. It's also $1 dog night, so hot dogs will just be $1. You know, that puts a smile on my face. And that is again going on this Saturday night, July 29th at Wall Stadium
Is it
Speedway.
supposed to rain
For
Saturday?
more information, better not, please visit wallspeedwayracing.com.
Yeah, the weather has been
Earl Crosby and
unfortunate this year.
Pocono, Gary Larson going on vacation. It will be Jeff Gravatt and I. So I'm kind of
Who's doing Victory Lane?
Jeff Gravatt will be doing it for the most part. I'm actually going to see if Ryan Flores will be around because when Earl was in Pocono the last time,
Do you want to guess?
Flores came home.
Oh, pick me, Mr. Cotter. Oh.
If you're up for it,
RPM podcast takeover.
I have plenty of microphones. I just need able bodies.
Do I get a headset?
Why don't you guys?
I have a lavalier.
Eric Brennan. You should come in the pits.
I don't know
now
what that is.
And like interview all the drivers.
I've been trying to get him to do the Will Buxton
he doesn't
pit
want to
walk.
do anything.
He has to
No,
show up
the
on time.
He's
problem
okay
is-
in his air-conditioned
No, wait, no,
tower
no.
with the Xfinity race on, with his nut-free protein bars,
I appreciate that, by the way.
and he's not saying it. He's not saying a damn thing
Because he knows
because
you're
he knows
right.
it's true.
No, all right. So here's the truth. So we had a demolition derby at Wall not that long ago, and something happened where there had to be a review of the video replay, and I'm the guy who knows how to do that. So, which is good
So
because it
says
adds
you.
value in case I ever forget how to speak English, which I do often on this show. So if I ever do that while I'm calling a race,
Or they find a better announcer.
then I have at least some
Which
sort
isn't
of leg
hard.
to stand on because I could play back the video replay system. So I was going to do the demo derby with Jeff Gravatt trackside because one of the lavaliers plus the wireless mic will work simultaneously.
Okay.
So I was going to try something new. The minute I get downstairs, I got a phone call. I had to head back upstairs and pull up video for something. So it's like that's why they want to keep me up in that tower because they want me there to push buttons and review video and stuff. Which other people can do it. It's just apparently I could do it in due time for where some of the decisions have to be made, whereas a couple of people aren't as proficient in it just yet. So that's probably
So
like
you're
the
a better
least
tech
arrogant
guy.
way that I could say
You're
that.
a better tech
you know?
guy than an announcer. Yes. Yes.
I don't want to say yes,
I'm not,
maybe.
I'm not going to push that. I'm not going to go there.
So I like to think I'm good at talking. Maybe I
Yeah,
don't know what I'm
just
talking
not-
about all
just
the
not
time,
on the show.
but I like to think that
you
I'm
make
good
it
at talking.
seem like you do.
So,
Gotta fake it till you make it.
well, it was Brian Hammer who told me that I have the gift of BS. That's what you got to have to be
Barbara Streisand.
Yes, Barbara Streisand. Speaking of some of the short track stuff, really interesting news broke today about the indoor series, and that is that Len Salmons Motorsports Productions is going to bring dirt indoor racing to Trenton Sun National Bank Center.
I thought they were going back to
December
Trenton.
1st and 2nd.
Well, not
Apparently
with
they
the
worked it out.
traditional.
Why does this always happen when I'm leaving?
This is from IndoorAutoRacing.com.
Brenda, you gotta go.
Which is kind of synced
Don't
up with area
disappoint
auto
me.
racing news. Indoor dirt track auto racing is coming to the Northeast December 2017. Len Salmons Motorsports Production will be offering 2 days of indoor auto racing on a dirt oval to be constructed inside inside the Sun National Bank Center in Trenton, New Jersey on Friday and Saturday, December 1st
That's a
and 2nd.
rough cleanup.
Quote, when news of this
Yeah.
race leaked out, it has created a huge excitement in racing history, said Len Sammons. We are pleased to bring dirt track racing indoors in Trenton for the first time. This is the right place and the right time to bring exciting 600cc micro sprint racing indoors to the area, Sammons added. With many tracks racing micro sprints weekly in the region, the pool of potential entrants is huge.
You got a bunch of people that come from Bridgeport. I'll tell you right now.
There's a bunch more little bits of tidbits and information, but it's a unique twist on the indoor racing event. After the TQs, the three-quarter midgets, have been the star of the show, this is really neat because it'll give us our own little glimpse of, perhaps the only event that you can kind of cycle it up to, which they reference in the article, is like what they have at the Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Does it say other divisions that'll be running?
Not if they do. I didn't read that
358
far.
modifieds.
But
I was thinking more champ carts, thank you, but because I think you could get away with those.
Can't legend cars race on dirt?
They can. I wouldn't do it there.
This actually, the article goes on to talk about how the Trenton Dirt Indoor Race will be the first of 4 indoor auto racing series events fueled by VP Racing Fuels.
I don't think I can go to Albany.
Yeah, Albany will be one of them. Then they'll also have a hard surface opener at Allentown, Pennsylvania. Atlantic City will be the Gamblers Classic. And then the new event at Albany will wrap up the dirt racing program on February 9th and 10th.
Atlantic City, I think I'm going to be crewing for Will Davis, doing the whole thing for his champ cart and all that.
I think that's kind of unique, though, that they're going to implement the dirt element, and it'll kind of add a unique flair to the whole indoor racing.
Where are they getting
I'm curious
dirt
how
from
they're going
Trenton?
to prep the track because
There's a lot there. Zing.
I didn't catch that. I was trying to yap over him.
No, he asked where they're going to get all the dirt from, but
And then Eric said they have a lot of dirt in Trenton.
Hey,
That's all I'm saying.
moving on.
it's coming from Staten Island.
Again, with the wet weather,
Maya
there isn't a lot of
Christine
stuff to talk about locally. So I'm just moving on with a couple of national or regional news stories and something that struck out, which
National,
I'm pretty,
local.
national or regional, like short track stories that you get what I'm trying to say.
I
This story probably touched a couple of your guys' eyeballs. I'm not sure if it has, but I figure we'll talk
That's
about
a new
it.
phrase.
Racer arrested for drunk driving while
Touch my
racing.
eyeballs.
Okay, he was arrested. Now I read this, and before anybody goes anywhere, it's an interesting article, and I am not endorsing drunk driving, but I'm going to say that it didn't say, at least the article I read didn't say what he actually, what the blood alcohol was.
0.08
It was
it said.
no, it said he was arrested for suspicion, and they gave the limit that it would be. They didn't say that he actually blew that or anything like that. They never
Well,
gave an actual
For those who may not
number.
be familiar with the story, here's how it breaks down. Leslie Charles Hunter, 64, of San Jose, California, was arrested Friday night on suspicion of driving under the influence at the Watsonville, California Ocean Speedway. The suspicion came because he was, in the interpretation of the other drivers, racing like a fool. Other drivers had complained that Hunter was recklessly forcing them to the side of the track, and
That
Santa Cruz
happens.
County police stepped in to investigate.
Nick, were you drinking when we went to pole position?
They found Hunter in the pits and arrested him on
messed
suspicion
up.
of DUI and driving with a blood alcohol level higher than 0.08%. So they didn't give you the reading, but they did say it was higher than 0.08.
But they said on suspicion, though, again.
Yeah, but this says that he.
It still says suspicion. It doesn't say that it actually was.
Well, I don't know how they. I don't know what the legal proceedings is. Maybe you have to actually go through something in order to prove it. I don't know.
I don't know.
It could be legalese, but
I don't know.
Fortunately, there were no injuries, and we don't normally joke about drunk driving. But boy, you've got to be monumentally stupid to race drunk, right? Leave that impairment for the people watching, pal.
Or the
So,
professionals.
I guess
like
that was a
Kimi
little bit of a
Räikkönen.
humor, a little bit of a humorous twist by Jay Boosby of Yahoo Sports, who put the article together.
Booze, B?
Busbe.
You know what?
Wow,
You know what intrigued me about
Look at that.
You know what intrigued me more about that article was that I guess they posted a picture of the driver that, like, just a random picture of the track.
Yeah.
And they made a really apologetic thing on the very bottom, noting that the previous picture in that article was not the driver. So I guess the driver that was pictured was like, "Hey guys, I wasn't that drunk driver. You need to get me off your article."
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad
Stock
point.
photo.
Now, I will use that story to point out the fact that it is announced each and every week at the Wall Stadium Speedway Drivers Meeting, as it should be across all of the New Jersey state racetracks, that there is no alcoholic beverages permitted in the
And
pits.
we don't allow guys to go get drunk in the stands and come waddling back into the
Exactly.
pits.
And
And you're also not supposed to, after a race, drive over someone's toolbox thinking that you're. No?
Why?
Never mind. There was an incident that happened. It was regular season. A certain modified driver, I believe it was upset with somebody else, and then went to run over their toolbox, and as it was set up, in the back of their trailer, and it ended up being not the guy he thought it was. He ran over somebody else's toolbox, destroyed it. And then
I think I remember hearing about this.
Yeah. And then I remember I wanted to leave, but the state police were actually next to my car, giving the guy a sobriety test in between our trailers. Mm-hmm. And that was
New Jersey is not the only state in the country or here, maybe I should phrase it this way. We're not the only, I know Wall isn't the only, to not permit alcoholic beverages in the pits. In fact, I'll tell you, when I worked for an American Canadian Tour late model team, we went up to Oxford Plains about 8 times, I think, in a season. They would actually go into your race trailer and check your trailer to see if you had any alcoholic beverages. And they did it for every competitor that paid to get into the pit parking lot. Little did they know that my father really liked his Budweiser, so we would hide it in a cooler in the rear deck of the race car in order to get it into the pit area. So, fun fact, not for me. I wasn't drinking at this point. I just turned 21. But I'm just saying they would do it to cover their backsides legally. Yeah. They wouldn't do it to the purpose of stripping, just getting everything apart and making sure that there's no alcohol in it. But it's very serious, and this is why. I mean, it's granted, you have to be nuts to be drinking and then getting behind the wheel of a race car.
It's also fairly hard to hide it, I would think. I mean, as you're around, if you've been in the pits at a short track before,
right?
It's hard to get away from people enough that you could try to sneak something like that.
Yeah. I mean, well,
maybe there's enough of those beer koozies.
The reason why, like my old man, we would sneak something in there because
you're spectating. You weren't driving.
Well, up there at Maine, it's almost like Jersey, where you really can't buy beer at a gas station or something like that. So
right.
once we're done racing, everything's closed in the area. We hit the road and pull over in the parking lot and hang out for a little bit and decompress. We had an 8-hour drive home.
So the main moral of the story here is party at home, lock your keys in your lunchbox, and just go and party it up on the couch by yourself.
Yeah.
The Eric Brennan special.
No, I don't hang out at home. Well, I do, but I don't
understand why. Your mother's so cool.
My mother's awesome, but that is nothing. But I don't.
He hangs out with Vinny Troya instead.
Oh, yeah, he does.
How to mention it. How to bring him up.
I feel bad. I was actually going to go to Vinny's. Vinny had a friend who was having a party down south.
His name is Tony.
No, Porter. Although if it's Porta, but I pronounce it. Even if it was Porter, I would still pronounce it Porta.
That's like that Johnny Cash song, "Hey Porter."
Porter.
Hey Porter.
Well, I'd say Porter.
Yeah, it still sounds like there's an R at the end of that.
I just say Porter. But we were gonna go.
I'm gonna follow that with
potty.
potty.
And then things got changed because, and Sam, you were there. I want to say congratulations to our friends John Russell and Chrissy Farry.
And happy birthday. Today's
on their
his
engagement.
birthday.
And, of course, today is John Russell's birthday as well.
Happy birthday.
And that was one of the coolest things that I've ever got to see in person. I've gotten to see, strangers get engaged before. I went on a cruise around
the
city.
Were there balloons?
No.
New phone, who dis?
But what's funny is, no, can you imagine, I went on a dinner cruise, around the city, a couple years ago. You could tell there's not a lot of racing stuff to talk about. And I'm going to close the show with this. So we went on a dinner cruise or something like that around the city, and there was actually 2 proposals on this little dinner boat. And I was thinking, could you imagine being the second guy? Could you imagine not being the first one to pull the trigger and get all the attention, the applause, and all that stuff? You were late on arrival, and you ended up having to follow up the first guy that did it.
It's the things
That's
that
got to be a pretty crappy feeling.
What a copycat.
But I know, you plan the whole thing out. You're like, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to do it in front of all these people. And then, you hear the commotion because somebody else got down on one knee before you. I think I would bail out at that point. You know what? This is not meant to be. This is not our moment, not our time. Just start
push
over.
her overboard, see if you can do it in the water.
No, just throw the ring out. Just forget that.
Start new.
So, but that was cool, and that was our local racing for the week, pretty much. That's it.
I can't wait to get married. It's gonna be sick.
Wow, that was really deep.
To me?
Well, we had a sportsman makeup race that we got in at Wall Stadium.
We did.
You forgot to mention that, John.
Jonathan LeRae got his first win.
You're welcome, Jonathan. Eric Brennan almost forgot about you.
Yeah, I didn't forget about it. That was good stuff, actually.
So we did have racing at Wall Stadium.
thanked him. We had a Legend car event as well, which who won that one? Was that Louis? Was that Louis or Robert? I don't know. Louis and Robert have been trading Legend car wins for a while, and the rain hit right afterwards.
You don't care anymore because Vinny Troya is not running.
I do care. Well, I care regardless. 'Cause Robert French is the one who's responsible for this beautiful sharp monitor that we have up here to display the RPM podcast logo, among
very
other
sharp.
things. So, and speaking of sharp, hats off literally to you, Sam, for having our RPM podcast hats made. Stephen Reed already came up to me about it, which, by the way, I got to grab a shirt for Stephen while I'm here.
That's fine.
Because I
They match our
dropped the ball on
shirts.
that.
$25 to $30. I know it's pretty expensive, but the shirt these guys are.
Yeah, but if you walk into Lids, you'll pay more than that for a flex
And if
fit.
you
Why
want-
would you go to Lids?
No,
I'm
he
not
didn't go
going
to
to
Lids.
Lids.
I've
I'm just
actually
saying,
been
I
like,
know,
to
but
I went to
why would
Jared.
anyone?
So
I went to
Jared.
Lids and they made fun of the Ferrari logo, and I walked out.
You know what we could do though?
firebomb that
What we
place.
could do is we could buy a bunch of hats and stuff and sign them in Nick Rendo's gold Sharpie.
While we're talking about insane spending, I did find a Nikki Hayden version watch.
Oh God, I know.
And I fell in love with it. I don't have it. I should have wore it, but I think only 4,900 were made, and it's outlandishly expensive. But it is so beautiful, and it pays such good tribute
But
to the
what's
legacy
more
of that American
beautiful
motorcycle
is our
racer.
T-shirts and our hats match, and you can buy them right here. Let
Nikki
one
Hayden
of us
is
know.
pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Free shipping. Free
Message
freaking
us on
shipping.
Facebook.
Free shipping.
Well, yeah.
Also, if you weren't able to make it out to the chapter house, we do have wristbands available for our buddy Josh, and there are still T-shirts that are available there as well. We'll have more information on that a little shortly. And I think I've done as much selling as I can in one day.
Yep.
And I am trying to finish my 500-mile trip today, so I will be doing that en
Mile
route to home. So with that,
8:59, gentlemen.
Can we learn? Can we talk about what we learned today?
oh my, Josh.
Don't put me first.
I learned that Ravo Kubica may, in fact, make one of the most historic comebacks in
Yeah.
motorsports history if he could return to the pinnacle of racing.
Oh, well, you didn't make your judgment yet.
On the argument,
Yeah.
all right. So I agree with you that we need the halo.
Sorry, Nick.
But when Nick made the statement, we have guys like Palmer on the grid, I nearly died because that was hysterical. So I'll say he won the argument, but you win the whole central purpose of
He
it.
can't. He
You
can't
had
risk.
no. What he basically
Never
said,
mind.
you have
Never mind.
legitimate reasoning to your argument, and Nick Rendo not so much.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, so Nick, what did you learn today? Sam, what did you learn today?
I learned that.
Oh, I know actually.
I learned that the Brickyard can produce some good racing as long as you tell the guys that it's okay to wreck.
I learned that they made the 2018 cars in Italy, which is pretty great for IndyCar. So,
I learned that
American
it's-
Open wheel racing is still Italian at the roots. Also, I learned that they are going to have head protection in the future because that's what they designed the car for, and they got rid of the Kim Kardashian booty.
You
There
got to
go.
protect the heads.
That was good.
I know. If you watch me on YouTube, you can.
Slap that. I learned that it is impossible to get Eric Brennan to commit to one side or the other because he needs to keep everyone happy.
That's true. That's why I have too many friends. I'm just kidding. I don't have any friends. On behalf of Josh Matthews, Sam Ballard Jr., Nick Rendo, I'm Eric Brennan. If you want to be my friend, you can like the RPM podcast on Facebook. And I'm done selling.
300 likes.
Not bad. See you at Wall Stadium for the Pete Nelders Twin 40s. Good night, everybody.
Go to wall.